Hello everybody, my name is Edson and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we are going to be talking about E3 2017 and talking about 5 sequels or sequels in general that I think were missed at E3 that could have been announced, maybe some of them longer shots than the others, but we've got a list, my top 5, this is my personal top 5, there's other sequels that people were hoping would be announced and weren't. If you do have any of those of those sequels and they would make your sort of like top 5 or anything like that, if you want to put your own top 5, please do so in the comments down below. This is my personal top 5, my opinion on the 5 games that I would have loved to see at E3 that didn't. And we're going to kick it off with number 5, and that is Fallout New Vegas 2. Now this is a little bit of a spoiler, Elder Scrolls is on this list as well, but a little bit higher up. The reason that Fallout's on this is because Fallout has a development cycle that's a little bit weird in terms of the quote-unquote next-gen games, when they started like going properly into like what we think Fallout is now, and that is Fallout 3 was released in 2008. Fallout New Vegas was released in 2010, 2 years later. Then you had a 4-year gap between that and Fallout 4. Now that may have been a 3-year gap if Fallout Shelter wasn't, or a little bit shorter if Fallout Shelter wasn't made as well, but I don't think it would have really mattered too much. Either way, there was a 4-year gap between that, but there was only a 2-year gap between Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. And Fallout New Vegas did feel like exactly like Fallout 3, but just like a huge DLC pack. Like, it didn't look, sound, or feel any different. It was just new content. That's what it felt like to me, and that wasn't a bad thing. Like, I loved it. It was a completely new game. It was a completely new like story. So I loved that. And I was thinking that maybe, because it was 2015 that Fallout 4 was released, maybe 2 years on, we would get Fallout New Vegas 2, which would fall in line with how they sort of developed that. So they'd take the Fallout 4 engine, they'd take the Fallout 4 and how it looks and everything, and just create a new story with it. And that would be the easier thing. Am I glad they didn't do it? Possibly. They could be working on a new engine, which could be a reason why I'm going to talk about it in a little bit. The Elder Scrolls 6 wasn't released or talked about as well. I think they do need a new engine, and a lot of people have been calling for that for the Bethesda games for a while, especially Fallout and Skyrim. Maybe that's what they're possibly like sinking a lot of time into and really trying to get right. And I would imagine if they are developing a new engine, it's probably done already. But it's obviously delayed, most likely, the development of games like Fallout and Skyrim, or Fallout and Elder Scrolls, sorry. So yeah, Fallout New Vegas 2, I would have loved to have been announced. It was a very, very long shot, because I honestly believed Elder Scrolls 6 was going to be announced. It just wasn't to be. Hopefully next year, maybe, possibly. That's still a long shot next year. Right, on to number 4. That is Halo 6. Now, Halo's a bit of a weird one because it's changed development. It's like changed sort of like development hands and stuff like that over the years. But between Halo 4 and Halo 5, you've had obviously all of the other games, like the Master Chief Collection that came out and all of this and all of that. But between Halo 4 and Halo 5, that's the ones you need to look at. There's been a 3-year gap. And Halo 5 was released in 2015. So I'm not too surprised that it wasn't talked about or released or talked about or shown at this year's E3, because it's a 2-year gap. And with Halo, they definitely, kind of like how Bethesda like to do it. With Halo, every time they've announced it at E3, they've announced it and it's came out that year. So I feel like they're going to save it for next E3, and that'll be the 3-year development cycle that we roughly see with Halo games. So that would just be a solid thing. I do think that is going to be talked about, released next year. I'm certain it'll be out in 2018. I'm certain it will be shown at next year's E3. Kind of sucky we didn't get something, or at least like a little hint that it was being working on or something like that, or like just like a little tiny teaser. But it is what it is. You know it's being worked on. It's just you didn't see anything from it. All right, on to number 3. Now this is one of the sort of longer shots that I was getting more and more hope for as E3 developed, as the pre-E3 games got announced, of what's going to be at E3 from certain companies. So like with Ubisoft, they always have a huge announcement at the end of their conference. Like Tom Clancy's Division, Watch Dogs 2, like is Watch Dogs 2? No, I don't even know if Watch Dogs 2 is a thing. I can't think. But those sorts of games, Tom Clancy's Wildlands, like all of these games are like huge games that they always showcase and hit everyone with, that nobody knows is being worked on at the end of their conference at E3. This year was no different. It was Beyond Good and Evil 2, which I absolutely love. I played the first one loads. It's been like 13 years. I'm so happy with that announcement, more so than I would have been with Splinter Cell, but I was still hoping for Splinter Cell as that big announcement, because I didn't really think Beyond Good and Evil 2 was actually ever going to be a thing. It was heavily rumoured a few years back at E3, but it was never actually a thing that materialised. So I just sort of gave up on the idea. But I'm happy that was announced. Kind of sad that Splinter Cell wasn't announced. Maybe because last year it was Tom Clancy's Wildlands, maybe the next Tom Clancy's game is going to be a Splinter Cell and they're just going to talk about it next year. I'm definitely going to go out on a limb and say, or go out on a whim and say that next year Tom Clancy, a new game, will be talked about, shown as the big announcement for Ubisoft. I'm not 100%, but I'm like, that's my call now, and I can't wait to go back to this video and show everyone next year when that happens. But like with Tom Clancy games, they're normally in a development cycle, especially since there was Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Endgame, which was released in 2009. Then there was Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Blacklist Aftermath, which was released in 2013. She had a 4-year development cycle for that. With new gen games, you're probably thinking it's going to be a 4-year cycle at least, like that, which would take it to 2017. With the fact that Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Blacklist Splinter Cell Blacklist was released in 2013, 4 years time compared to like in game development, 4 years time to 2017, maybe it's not quite ready to be shown yet, or it's not quite ready to get the release date. I honestly think it's going to be probably released in 2019, give it a 5-year development cycle, and it's going to be shown at next year's E3 as the big announcement by Ubisoft. I'm kind of gutted, obviously, that it wasn't shown this year, but I just don't think they've quite got it ready yet. So I think there's going to be probably a gameplay walkthrough of it. I'm hoping that's like may not happen, but I'm hoping for a gameplay walkthrough of it. And obviously with current game development and how it's working with the Xbox One X and PS4, like 4K gaming all being a thing, and PC just pushing the boundaries, I think we just need an extra couple of years to get this game ready and up to standards. So yeah, hopefully Splinter Cell next year. Moving on to number 2, I kind of brushed upon earlier, and that is the Elder Scrolls 6. Now, this was the one that everyone was pretty much certain was going to be released from Bethesda. They said they had 2 big projects they were working on. Everyone didn't really know too much or didn't think that Elder Scrolls was not going to be one of them, because obviously Fallout was the one that they showcased in 2015. Last year they didn't showcase anything. And you're just thinking, well, they showcased the special edition, but with the Elder Scrolls Online in 2014, the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, that was 2011. The development cycle between Oblivion and Skyrim was 5 years. Now, the development cycle, if you add 5 years onto Skyrim, is 2016. Now, you're thinking with 2016 that, okay, new game, sort of like since Skyrim was released, that was 2011. It's still a long time in game development sort of terms. It's been coming on, especially with the console gaming and stuff like that. I feel like just another year onto it would have been, because some people were even hoping for this last year at E3, and this year it wasn't even announced. So I was thinking that maybe this year it was like a dead cert that this was 100% gonna happen and be shown, but nothing was announced by Bethesda from it. So hopefully, and this is more than the Fallout New Vegas 2. This is more what makes me think they're actually working on a new engine. So Fallout and Skyrim games are just going to be, or Fallout and Elder Scrolls games are just going to be halted for at least a couple of years, which I think we're in the first year of. So I think maybe next year we definitely see Elder Scrolls 6. Like I said, hopefully, maybe, possibly Fallout as well. It would be crazy if they showed both of them, but Bethesda like to, obviously they're not going to release both of those games in the same year, and they like to only showcase games at E3 that are going to be released that year. So it's doubtful that they're both going to be there. But I do think that a new engine is in the works. Those games are going to run off a new engine, and Elder Scrolls 6 next year is going to be a thing. Now on to number one. Number one for me, the game that I personally and so many others, probably when you ask most people about E3, especially people that watched it now and saw Twitch chat and everything like that, Skate 4 is the one game everyone is screaming for. Skate was good. Skate 2 I think was the best game in the franchise of the 3 games. Skate 3 was all right. Not as good as Skate 2. I played Skate 2 a lot more, probably like 100 hours more. And Skate 4 is a game that everyone's been screaming for. Now, I need to preface this by saying that the reason that Skate isn't happening, or a lot of people have said that it's probably never going to happen, is because it was developed by Black Box. Now, Black Box went out, took on the likes of Tony Hawk when that was coming to an end, and not many people were like, that franchise was dying off. Nobody could deny that. Skate was released in 2007. They took the skateboard genre and just ran with it. And a lot of people I think a lot of people didn't really think that Skate was going to take off. And it did. It was released just on consoles, PS3, Xbox 360, and everyone loved it. No Skate game has been released on PC yet. They've all been released on consoles, which is debatable for a lot of people on whether that's a good thing or not. But Black Box actually, I think it was 2012, it was a year before, because they create all the Need for Speed games as well. That's what they're known for. Need for Speed games, they made all the Need for Speed games. Apart from the recent 3, and I'll get onto that in a little bit. Now, they were renamed, and it had a little bit of a shuffle in 2012, and the name changed to Quick Lime Games. Now, they made a development, a game, Need for Speed World, and then later on, the following year, or that year, I can't remember when it was released, 2013, they were closed, and that was it. Now, a lot of people from that company actually were hired by Ubisoft, and that's how the crew came about. So that's interestingly enough that the original people of Need for Speed, they were the ones that made the crew, and that's why a lot of people that liked Need for Speed, the originals and all of that, and thought that direction was better, that's why a lot of people took to the crew. And honestly, that I can totally see, because the crew is very similar to those sort of like old school games. But now that leaves EA as the publisher in a little bit of a weird spot, because Need for Speed, obviously, they got handed over to a company called Ghost Games, and they've made the last 3. They've made Need for Speed Rivals, Need for Speed, and Need for Speed Payback, the one that we saw at this year's E3. They're taking it on, they're doing something a little bit different, and props to them. They're developing at a 2-year cycle at the minute. Need for Speed Rivals, Need for Speed, and Payback was all released, or all going to be released 2013, 2015, 2017. Now, with Skate, they were released in between the years that they created Need for Speed. So they sort of like split the workload as such. And I think this is why Need for Speed didn't do so well. And I think this is why the company sort of like disbanded. They never really had one project, it seemed. They were always working on Need for Speed and Skate. They never just split the time and had like a 2-year gap in between every game that they made. And I think that was their downfall. But Skate 4, you don't really know if it's going to happen. I'm still skeptical on if it's going to happen, because obviously Need for Speed is such a big franchise. EA had to move that to a new company. They did. It's working. Cool. Skate 4 was sort of like the underdog, the lesser game for that company. And where EA obviously do own the rights to that, I just wish maybe they haven't found a company that can do it yet, but I just wish they would. I wish they would. It's been what? How many years now since Skate 3? 2010. It's been 7 years. It doesn't feel like it's been 7 years. 2009 and then 2007 for the original Skate. It's been so long, and I really wish we could have a new Skate. I honestly now, in the same way that I gave up on Beyond Good and Evil 2, I'm thinking I'm about to give up at Skate. If it's not announced next year, and I'm not going to get my hopes up at all, if it's not announced next year, Skate 4, I'm pretty much done with it, being hyping it up for E3 and stuff. And I think most people are at that stage. Once it starts closing in on 10 years, you're thinking, this ain't happening. This ain't happening. I do think that EA, even if they don't release it, I like to think that they did try. I like to think that they did try and get a company that could do it. I just, maybe possibly they didn't really find one that suited the style, suited the vision that they thought Skate was going, because between Skate 2 and Skate 3, a lot of things changed, and some of them were not for the better. And I think if Skate 3 took on from where Skate 2 left off and made it better, I think we would have seen a Skate 4 by now. But I think because Skate 3 did worse than Skate 2, I think they thought that was the franchise declining. But I don't think it would. I think if a Skate 4 was released, it would blow up. Especially if it stuck to more the roots of Skate 2. It would be amazing. I'm still hopeful for it, though. Hopefully maybe next year. If not, I'm pretty much done and probably going to give up on it. But yeah, they're the 5 games. Fallout New Vegas 2, Halo 6, Splinter Cell, The Elder Scrolls 6, and Skate 4. Let me know your guys' comments are. Let me know what your guys' comments are. Let me know what your guys' sequels that weren't announced at E3 2017 are. Any that I've missed off this list that you guys are really looking forward to or hoping for that didn't get announced. Any that you're hoping that will get announced in the next couple of E3s or something like that. Let me know. And yeah, thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this, make sure to give it a like, comment, subscribe if you're new. And as always, I'll speak to you all soon. Take care.